welcome to the Marketing Drip, where we drip tips to scale your business digitally. It's Abby here, and the topic today is how to generate recurring revenue into your practice with a membership program. I talked with Jordon Comstock, the founder and CEO of BoomCloud, and you guys, BoomCloud is such an amazing software that exists to help dental practices create, organize, track, and just automate a dental membership program to really make sure that their strategy to reduce the dependency on dental insurances. It also helps create recurring revenue and increase patient loyalty and case acceptance. Jordon's passion, and you guys are going to see this in this episode, for creating recurring revenue and taking down that evil empire of dental insurance. It began 15 years ago when he was managing a dental lab and he saw the demand and need for membership programs. So then he went and studied UX and UI design, web development, and marketing, and has built this amazing company that it is today, BoomCloud. So let's go ahead and begin today's drip, provided by Digital Resource, a full-service digital marketing agency that is your resource for everything digital. Hey Jordon, thank you so much for joining us today and dripping some knowledge. I'm so excited to have you, so thank you.
Yeah, what's up, Abby? How you doing?
Good. Holidays, they made my rest happen really well. What about you?
Yeah, I just chilled the whole time. I barely left my house. It was awesome.
That's the best.
And I took about a week and a half off, and I'm recharged and just ready to rock and roll.
Ready to, like your signature. Yeah. Ready to rock.
Yeah.
And Jordon, we know each other for years now. It's been really cool to see your company grow. And I think both of us have kind of come up around the same, which is kind of fun. But I'm really excited to have you on because your concept, BoomCloud, as far as membership programs and just the way you talk about it and the way you talk about recurring revenue is so mind-blowing. And I love how you break things down. So I guess I just want to dive in and pick your brain on why you think membership programs are just so important when it comes to future-proofing practices nowadays.
Yeah, I mean, it's super important.
Yeah.
Years ago, practices, they weren't doing membership plans, right? They didn't really have a solution for it. Yeah. But I think it's super important to yes, one, future-proof, because I've seen practices when we hit recessions, the recurring revenue from membership programs help them get through it, right? That's one of the reasons why I love it so much. I think recurring revenue in general is the best business model for any type of industry, right? And to be able to allow practices to enable this type of business model is really empowering for them because they get the predictable recurring revenue coming in every month or every year. They're able to reduce dependence on PPOs, and increase their profit margins because, insurance companies are getting worse and worse to work with. And, when we're in an economy, where there is a lot of high inflation and a potential recession, that predictable recurring revenue will come in handy because cash flow matters in poor economic situations. But it also helps the patients, right? It's affordable way where patients can come in and get access to quality dental care without having to work through all the third party BS that insurance companies are putting on. But I think it's also easy to scale and grow, right? We have practices where I've seen them make over $1 million in recurring revenue just from their membership fees.
That's amazing. Right? Oh my gosh.
It's a wonderful business strategy, and I'm just obsessed with helping practices build it.
Yeah. I mean, it's addicting at that point when you're seeing that kind of revenue coming in. And to your very point, it's that control, right? Like there's times that, especially economy and things that we don't have control over, right? We just kind of have to adapt and make sure that our businesses are thriving and that we're able to have that recurring revenue. It's a safety net. Like that's what I love about it. And it's not just like, oh, I did an implant case and I just got this big revenue stream in, which is also a bonus on that. But knowing that it's constantly coming in. And I love the concept of membership programs because it's like they're buying into the practice, right? Like they're acknowledging and they're loyal that way. Yeah.
Yeah, I always say patients, when they join a membership plan, they commit with their wallets.
Yes.
You know, I think it's really important that I get people to commit to their wallets, right? At the same time, you know, with predictable recurring revenue coming in every month, you know, naturally dentistry has feast and famine months. You know, typically there's a month one of the months of the year they call Sucktember. I don't know if you've heard of it.
I have. Yeah.
But, you know, recurring revenue helps smooth out those feast and famine months.
Yeah.
You know, in addition to, like you said, practices are so focused on getting these implant cases, these big maybe all on four cases,
Right.
the big type cases, which is great. But how I look at business is you need in any industry, you need some type of foundation that produces a predictable cash flow stream coming in. And that's why I think membership plans are super important for practices today, so that they can develop a fantastic foundation for their businesses.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I look at it. And on top of that, recurring revenue is a more valuable revenue stream than like one-time transactional revenue, like that implant case that comes in and the practice, you know, completes it. Recurring revenue, from a valuation standpoint, is more valuable than transactional one-time revenue, which is kind of cool.
That's very cool. And that makes total sense. It's reliability. Like, you know, it's coming in, you don't know. And that's a scary part, right? Like, you're, whether dentists accept this or not, like, you are sales. Like, you are pitching something to and granted, it's for their overall health. You're proposing a treatment plan for them, but it's relying on them accepting it, whether it's with you or another practice. And patients are smarter than ever now, and they're actually looking at this. They want their payment plan options. They want to buy into practices.
Yep.
They want to, and that kind of ties into that subscription model that I love. You know, you think of Amazon with Prime, you think of Netflix or any kind of streaming service. And I love how you always talk about this too. It's breaking up those payments so they're more digestible, they're more loyal to the practice, but then it's also, to your very point, it's consistency. You know you're going to get paid every single month, and it's not that fear of, did I propose that right? And I mean, that's still an element, right? But there is more. To your very point, they bought in with their wallet, so they're more committed to accept and make sure that they are going into the practice that way.
Typically, a patient, when they commit with their wallet, they tend to spend like 3.5 times more with that practice on all the other services the practice may offer.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so and if you look outside of dentistry, like at the companies you mentioned, Amazon, and like Costco, the same thing happens, right? Typically, I think an Amazon Prime member, when they join, they spend like 5 times more than a non-member.
They got me hooked.
Right? So, me too. Yeah. Right? I get a package on the porch every day. I swear I do. But it's really important to look outside of dentistry as well and see what other businesses are doing, like Costco and Amazon and others. I mean, even Taco Bell has a membership plan
They
now.
do? Oh my gosh,
It's
yes.
$10 a month. It's $10 a month. Taco Bell has a membership plan. BMW just launched a membership plan for heated seats.
Oh my gosh.
In addition to that, I think some of the airlines are trying to launch membership plans for certain types of travel, which is really interesting.
Brilliant.
So if you think about it, just subscription plans create, in addition to the recurring revenue, they create more transactional revenue, you know, from whatever business is selling, right? So if you're Amazon, it's going to create more purchases from their website, right? If your dental office is going to allow the patients to say yes more to the treatment that they need, right? So it's an amazing business model in the fact that it creates recurring revenue, but it also influences more like one-time transactional revenue. So that's what I love about it.
Yeah. That's amazing. How many people are like joining ship would make sense too, because it's almost like it's a commitment, but it's also non-committal because it's month to month. Do you know? Like, it's like you're committing to something, but with that making it digestible, it makes it a lot more obtainable. But they're committing longer and spending more, which is so interesting.
Yeah, and if you look at like monthly membership plans where it's like you just said, like a month-to-month plan, um, typically those plans range from like $30 a month to $40 a month per patient.
Yeah.
And when you have a monthly subscription, it's what I call a evergreen type plan.
Yeah.
Most of the times, if a patient is paying monthly, it'll go on forever, right? Because the $30 payment is an under the radar payment for the patient. They don't typically notice $30 payments going on, so it just keeps going and going, right? Whereas like a yearly subscription has a little bit of a shock factor to it when it hits the patient's bank account, and it typically causes more patients cancel with yearly subscriptions than with monthly subscriptions, because monthly is simpler. It doesn't they don't notice it in their bank account as much, right? Because it's a $30 payment. So and then it's evergreen, right? So the patient is typically stays longer on a monthly membership plan than a yearly. So that's kind of fun.
And that makes sense. Yeah. We had that too with like certain packages and stuff, right? Like if there's annual, there's month to month, and people tend to, it's almost like you're asking them again every year, like, hey, you want to stay with us? And then it's that commitment, because everybody's so used to instant gratification now. Everybody's used to having that control and making sure that they're, but to your point, once it's turned on, just, you forget about it. You set it and forget it. And now it's evergreen. Yeah, it's evergreen. I love that. It's so true. It's like, oh, it's just, you know that that's a payment that you run every month, and you don't think about it, and you're covered. And for those that may not be very aware of membership programs, and because you said there's your annual and there's your month to month, like what's a general description or like recommendation that you have for people thinking about membership programs, or maybe don't even really
owners
know
out there and office managers
that it exists,
that like are new to this concept of dentistry? Well, number one, think of it like Amazon Prime, but for your patients, right, in the practice, where they pay a monthly or yearly subscription. Typically, how I look at like price ranges for practices, if a practice is like, what should I be charging my monthly subscription or yearly subscription for my patients? It all boils down to their demographics, right? And we've looked at across the nation, we've looked at practices, and we found that like the practices that grow the quickest with their membership program, look at their cities like demographics, like the median income of the city they practice in, right? And we base the pricing off of the median income of that area. So if you look, most practices that are super successful, well basically it's they look at the median income and charge like a percent off of that, which typically is like $200 to $400 a year in subscription revenue, depending on where that area is. But it's all based off of demographics. Because the mistake that most practices make is they either charge too high for their subscriptions or charge too low, right? And the best way that we've found out that to help practices get the numbers right is to look at the demographics of their area and then base their pricing based off of that. So that's kind of my suggestion. If a practice is new to this concept and wants to start with the right pricing, understand your demographics of the patients you're targeting, and that typically falls into the median income of the patients in that area. So that's kind of how I look at it. Yeah, that's
such great advice. Yeah. I've never even thought of it that way, because usually it's like, we recommend this. This is what most practices have, or if you're a one doctor practice, or if you're doing this type of treatment. Yeah. So that's so I love that. You want to base it off the area and what they're typically getting paid, so you're not blindsiding them or missing out on
thinking
cash
that way
coming
is
in.
Typically, on average, like a yearly subscription is like $350 to $450 a year, right? On average. But when I give an average number, one of your listeners may be in maybe an area that's has more poverty, right? And the reason why we started looking at the demographics of every practice that is setting up membership plans is because we had a practice in a high poverty area, and they're like, well, we listened to your advice and we just did $300 a year or whatever at the time, and we're not getting anybody signing up for it. And I peeked into their area where they were at, the cities they were targeting, and I looked at all these demographics. I'm like, well, this makes sense. Their average income or the median income in this specific area was like super low. It was like $30,000 a year, right? I'm like, okay, well, they're like the people in their area are lower income, so the practice needs to have a better strategy, a better pricing strategy, right? Instead of just giving a blanket answer, right, of the averages, which obviously is helpful, but I'm more I love the demographic model better. We've seen far more success with our practices since we've kind of started helping them with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. See, that's why you're always so good at it too, Jordan, because you just adapt, you know? Like you're not just like, this is a cookie cutter software and we're just everybody has to do the same thing. And it's adapting and making sure it's right for your practice, and having that customization is always crucial. Okay, so let's say people are implementing, or anybody listening, they're just started implementing their membership, or they've had it for a while program. What are like metrics? Because you guys are really great about tracking that revenue and making sure that it is profitable for the practice. So what are metrics that they should be monitoring to really ensure that that program is being effective?
I mean, metrics are
or
key
if
with
they need
membership
to be
plans.
switching it up
Most
a
of the time
bit.
when I talk to practice, they have a membership plan and they're managing it manually. They have no idea what's going on. And which I think is a huge problem. Yeah, it's a huge problem because
I feel
membership
you on
plans
that.
have the power to be, an amazing cash flow tool for the practice, right? So, some of the metrics that we like our practice to look at is, number one, the active patients, right, on the membership plan. Number two, we look at what we call MRR, or monthly recurring revenue. It's super important to see what that looks like each month, so the practice owner or office manager can forecast the cash flow that's going to come in from the membership plan, right? Same thing, they can look at growth rate, for like month over month growth rate is super important to understand. We also have our practices look at ARR, which stands for annual recurring revenue, right? Because you want to know that, that's growing as well. And the last thing that I typically look at, we look at lots of different things, but just like a quick rundown is churn, understanding cancellation rates, right? Monthly and yearly cancellation rates. If the practice is not bringing in new patients, but they're losing, 3 to 5 a month or whatever it may be, their monthly recurring revenue is going to be shrinking, right? So it's really important. Marketing is super important when you have a membership program, making sure you have a marketing engine. It's critical, right? And then understanding why people are canceling is critical, right? If they're not finding value, you as a practice owner, office manager, need to figure out how to add more value to these patients, if that's the case, right? It may not be. And then I would say the last thing that I would look at is, how people are hearing about the membership program, how, from a marketing perspective, right? I think that's really important, because a lot of the times practices will spend money in areas of marketing that doesn't produce results, and they just believe it's producing results, right? So understanding the source. So if you're doing like B2B marketing, if a practice is talking to this local small businesses in the area, you want to be able to track that and say, yeah, this is from our efforts reaching out to small businesses, right? Or if it's through like a Facebook ad or some type of online marketing, the practice needs to understand, where the signups are coming from, so they can spend their money correctly in those places, right? To get a better monthly recurring revenue return.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I love that you say that. Yeah, that's perfect. It's marketing for it, right? Because not only that, it's making sure that you're promoting it. Because I know we've talked about this before too. It's sure you've implemented this program into your practice, but do your patients know? Or only the patients that are coming into the office, are they the only ones that know? Making sure you're leveraging your patient communication software like NextHealth or Revenue or Lighthouse or any of those softwares, making sure you're sending out emails and text messages to educate them. Hey, we now offer this. Concerned about payment, we got you. Like, break up payments on a monthly basis, or make sure that you learn more about our membership program. Promoting it as a value add for your practice is huge. And like I said earlier, people are researching things now. They're researching if you offer 3D imaging. They're researching if you have a membership program. They're researching if you have online booking. These are all things that they want, and they have control over to choose their provider. And so brag about it. Make sure you're promoting it. But I love those numbers that you said. So active patients that are on it, you're looking at MRR, and then I would ARR, churn
from like
rate,
an office manager's perspective, he or she may want to look at like renewal rates, right? Meaning renewals. I know we have a metric on our dashboard that will show the office manager how much revenue is coming in like today, for example, because of renewals, right? And we have a forecaster that looks out 90 days for the office manager. Yeah. So he or she can be looking at when renewals are happening, and if the office manager needs to call practice, update a card, or to just welcome them to their membership plan, right? So I think just keeping track of that is the last thing I would look at from an office manager standpoint.
Yeah. And it's nice to just have those wins and like celebrate with the team too, tracking that on, if you have your morning huddles, if you have your weekly huddles or monthly, I think it's so great for the whole team to be on board too, not just keeping that for yourself, but understanding the success that it's bringing the practice and that getting everybody on board, right? Because a lot of times it's the front, or it's the doctor, or it's the hygienist. And it's like, well, everybody work together and make sure that if the conversation gets brought up with the patient at any point of their appointment, or even outside of their appointment, when it's through an ad or through communications, it doesn't matter as long as it's being said and it's being promoted. And if everybody knows why it's implemented into the practice, how it's adding value, I think that's just going to make sure that everyone's communicating to the patient so they feel like they understand and that they're in control as well. So it's always nice to look at the numbers together. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, to your point of celebrating the wins, I think the practices that are most successful definitely celebrate the wins, and they include their entire team, and maybe even reward their team, whether it be financially or if they have a target growth rate. Let's say that the goal is to get 40 patients signed up a month to the membership plan. If they achieve that, some practices will take some of like the one-time enrollment fees, the membership plan that they can enable, and put that money aside to do like a team party. Or some practices will take a portion of the revenue and reward their team with like gift cards. But I think that's really important to incentivize and celebrate the wins with your team. The most successful practices always focus on that from my experience watching the industry. The ones that aren't successful tend to not include their team, because business is a team sport. Whether you're running a dental practice or a marketing agency or a software company, business is a team sport. So if you as a practice owner, or office manager aren't sharing the wins, I would consider looking into that and seeing how you can put together a plan to help celebrate the wins and share some of the success with your team members. That's kind of what I've seen work really well. I do the same thing with my team here. If we win, everyone is celebrated, and there may be some fun rewards for people.
Because you guys have the best culture too, and I love that you also tell you're always communicating that to the practices that you work with too, like adding more value that way. It goes beyond just the software, right? It's making sure it's being,
it really does.
Yeah, in dental, we're community. We're a big family. It feels we're a road family. You and me especially,
road
right?
Family. Yeah,
always on the road and making sure that we're talking to these doctors in these offices, and it's the same concerns that come up, and it's like, you're not a one-man show. Make sure that you're including them, and you fall, they fall. When you raise up, they raise up. Like, you want to make sure that it is a team effort, and that's how to motivate people. And I love, that's such a great idea too. You're getting extra cash flow in. Why not give it to the team that's working their butts off, that's producing that cash flow, right?
Yeah.
So to keep them, create that loyalty, because we all know it is very hard to retain team members right now, and it hasn't slowed down in that way too. So add another value.
It doesn't have to be crazy amounts of money that you're giving your team members, right? It can be something small like weekly gift cards or something if they hit a certain goal to grow the membership plan, right? It doesn't have to be
Yeah.
anything crazy. I think any type of recognition though, weekly or monthly to your team will pay dividends for the business, moving forward. And that's kind of what I've seen just running my own businesses over the years and working with people. And I think as practice owners, that's something that we definitely, a practice owner could focus on to if they want, more improvement or more buy-in with the team,
Yeah.
more commitment to the practice versus just it's just my job, right?
Right.
I don't like when people think, oh, I'm just here because it's just my job. No, I think it's far more powerful to get people thinking that they're a part of the big vision of any type of
Yeah.
business, right? Whether it's a practice or a software company or whatever, right? So I think that's a huge component of, why a practice would be successful in scaling a dental membership program.
Yeah. Well, that being said, too, Jordan, I mean, this might be a little redundant, but just to make sure, what are the opportunities that you would recommend for doctors that they might be missing out on? Whether that, what as a business owner and as just having your own software and having BoomCloud or working with practices all the time, what are you noticing that they're missing out on that they should implement?
Yeah, I think the biggest problem or the biggest missed opportunity with practices in regards to growing and scaling their membership plan is a lot of the times they struggle with marketing, right? I've seen that for years, ever since I started this company, that's the biggest struggle. And that's one of the keys to scaling the membership plan to, a healthy yearly recurring revenue or monthly recurring revenue. Like the practice I'm thinking of that's doing over $1 million in annual recurring revenue, they have a marketing strategy that's always bringing in new patients. So, and if you think about it, even if you're not directly marketing that you have a membership program, you're always going to be bringing in new patients that don't have insurance, right? Always, because over half the United States doesn't have dental insurance, right? So, marketing is probably the biggest opportunity missed, and even focusing on scaling these membership programs is thinking it. The mindset that I've noticed with practices that aren't as successful than the $1 million membership plan practices is they just are like, oh, this is just a side thing. This is whenever patients come in, we'll offer it, but we're not really trying to push it. It's just kind of a nice to have. But the practices that prioritize it and put it as one of their main strategies in their business model and craft the marketing around it, those are the ones that just through their membership program, generate $1 million or more a year in recurring revenue, and that's whether they do dentistry or not. They can take a whole year off and $1 million is coming in from the membership plan, right? Obviously that's not realistic, but that's what I'm trying to say is that's why this business strategy is so critical for a practice owner, is because it does allow you to be able to take a break from dentistry and still have revenue coming in, especially if you build it with marketing in mind, right? So membership plans and marketing are super powerful. And that's one of the biggest missed opportunities from my perspective, looking just at the nation of practices. And that's one thing they missed big time.
I couldn't agree more. Could you imagine that?
Yeah.
I feel like control's kind of the theme of today, but it is. First off, I love how you said that, because it's almost like understand that you are an entrepreneur, you are a business owner, but you have a added value because you're also a clinician, and that's amazing.
Yeah.
You're also a provider. So you're Superman or Wonder Woman, that's an amazing talent to have. But looking at your practice in that way, and to your point of marketing, that is what allows people to control what's coming in. We always like to ask, who do you want in your practice? Like what type of patients, what type of cases do you want to have? Because you have control to target that specific demographic or those specific patients to have them come in and not just getting new patients, but new patients that you enjoy. And then you need to keep them. And insurance is just dominating, and in a way that's taking away the money. It needs to be a profitable business, and having the membership program to make sure that you are creating loyalty, you are being more profitable. Those go hand in hand. And overall, I mean, marketing is only here to generate revenue. That is its sole purpose. And I'm like, if it's not generating revenue, then it's not doing its job. Like that's its only purpose. And that's same with membership programs. So to have a thriving business, you need those. Yeah.
You really do. And to your point with insurance companies and how rough it is getting out there for practice owners, the average practice writes off $300,000 a year in insurance write-offs, right? That's a yacht. You can buy a yacht with that much. You know what I mean?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Or take a small portion of that money and reinvest it into marketing strategies that will grow the practice faster than it is ever seen. Being in contract with insurance companies, but $300,000 is, and if you take that over the lifetime of the average practitioner, it's over $10 million of losses. Over a career,
my gosh.
Over a dental career.
You're gonna be sick.
It makes me sick that's how much the average dentist typically loses in their career, when that could be going to them and their families and their team and their team's families, right? That's why I think as practices, practice owners want to build better practices. I would recommend figuring out how to cut out insurance, and a membership program is definitely part of that.
Yeah. Marketing is too.
And marketing is big too, because it really is. Yeah. Most of the time, practices, if their goal, which 98% of practices that come to us here at BoomCloud are wanting to cut insurance completely, right? That's their goal. I always tell them, I'm like, okay, cool. What's your marketing plan? Do you have a marketing firm you're working with? Do you have an internal team, for that is responsible for marketing? Yep. Like you can't just cut out insurance companies without marketing and membership plans, right? It's so critical. Yes. And I think a lot of the times practice owners will say, well, I'll just, they get so frustrated with insurance companies and they just turn it off, right? We're done with them. And then they haven't figured out marketing. And they haven't figured out retention through membership plans and, recurring revenue through membership plans. And I think, this year in 2023, if you as a practice owner, which I know a lot of them are thinking this, if you're wanting to reduce dependence on insurance companies, it starts with marketing and membership plans. And then you go layer by layer looking and analyzing the insurance companies you're signed up with, and you start cutting out the ones that have great out-of-network benefits, meaning when you cut like a certain PPO plan and the payouts from that plan increase because you're out-of-network, that's what you want, right? Because that will help you increase your profit margins in addition to converting those patients into membership patients. So that's kind of how I'm looking at it. And that's another, I would say, missed opportunity is too many practices they kind of just take the crap from the PPOs, right? And they're like, well, this is just how it is in dentistry.
Just how it is, exactly. Just and part of it.
That's the type of mindset that I like. I'm like, no, if you guys don't like it, change it.
Yeah.
You've got more power and control than you believe, right? Insurance companies have done a good job at marketing the practices and saying, you need us. But the reality is they need you more than you need them, right? So I think that's another missed opportunity. Back to your last question.
The world now is so advanced, softwares and technology. I mean, this wasn't the case. Insurance companies did have way more control. They were able to educate, and that was one of the only options. Now you can take that power into your own hands. You just got to have a strategy and making sure that you're, the insurances that you are getting rid of, you're communicating that effectively, and they understand there's other ways to make payments and not have to rely on that insurance. I mean, I even feel like companies as a whole, insurance is just, it's there, but it's less of a topic because there are other avenues that you can just pay
Yeah.
out, and it's amazing. And as a patient, as a customer, I would rather pay that. Like, I think of one time I was eating at a local restaurant, right? And they were telling me Uber Eats. Oh, sure. Like, I love getting things delivered to me. Don't make me go outside of my home. That's
I
great,
love it.
especially the holidays, right? But they were telling me they have their own delivery service now, because Uber Eats was taking such a big cut of their pay. So really, the restaurant themselves weren't generating a lot of revenue. It was, and that especially hurt during the pandemic, because it was keeping them alive, because it was such an amazing model, but it was actually hurting them because they weren't making as much as they would when people came in, obviously, right? So they hired their own driver, and then they had deliveries directly from, well, you cut out the middleman. You're not paying anybody else. You're just paying for that employee. And I was like, oh my gosh. So it made me think of insurance. Like, that's what insurance
exactly
is doing. They're like loaning you money,
Yeah.
you know, and they're taking it from the direct business. I want to pay the business. I want to pay the people that I have a relationship with,
and
not this middleman that's...
You're 100% right. I think most
taking
patients feel that way because, you know, it's going in, you develop a relationship with, the dentist and the staff there, and then all of a sudden you got to go work with a third-party insurance company to figure out the financials. It's confusing for patients, and it's painful for patients, right? And on the other side with the practice owners and office managers, it's painful for them. So it's like, why are we enduring with all this pain and not changing it, right? And I think that's what we're going to see this year, more so than we have ever seen, is these insurance companies are going to be dropped from practices across the industry, and they're going to try to figure out what they need to do as insurance companies. But do better. Yeah. my goal and my mission, is to help the practice owner, the small business owner, build a better business for them, their families, and their patients, right? That's who I want to focus on, because I think that's who really matters. The insurance companies just kind of feel like they're riding coattails off of industry,
right?
So.
And it always breaks my heart too, because like we'll do reviews, we help generate reviews as well, and it always breaks my heart when the bad reviews are typically about insurance companies. It's not even about the practice, and it's like no, and they're brokenhearted because they're like, oh, we're getting bad reviews, and it's not even like we have no control over that. That's just their insurance, and we're just trying to make them happy, and it's like, oh, that's so frustrating.
Typically, when I talk about the insurance model in the dental industry and why they should go away, and a membership plan and marketing should be increased. I have three reasons. The first reason is insurance companies kill your profit margins, right, in a practice. The second one is they hurt your cash flow. And the third one is they jeopardize your patient experience. With your example there, that's exactly what's happening in the dental space. Now, if I had a business partner or an employee that hurt my cash flow, killed my profit margins, and jeopardized my patient experience, I probably would fire them. So it's time to fire the insurance companies, increase your marketing, and build a $1 million membership program in your practice, because it's being done. Practices across the nation are doing this, and it's a really important strategy for this year for practice owners to understand and to get behind, because it just has too many amazing benefits that can't be ignored.
Build your practice better. I think 2023, that's a great goal to have. I know every year we're hearing more and more about fee-for-service. We're hearing more and more about eliminating PPOs and having that as part of the marketing plan. So whether you're with us or with somebody else, make sure you're telling your marketing team, I need a strategy to help with that. And if you don't have a membership plan, make sure you're at least talking about it and talking to Jordon about it. So Jordon, thank you so much for joining me today. It's been amazing and insightful, and I can't wait to have you back, because I'm gonna. And thank all of you for tuning in. If you want to learn more about how to drive recurring revenue to your practice with a membership program, be sure to give BoomCloud a call at 385-225-9364, or just visit their website at BoomCloud.com. Thank you so much, Jordon.
Rock on.
Rock on. Yes.